Alright people, so we're to the point now where we're overwhelmed and have way too much work to do for two people and the amount of time we have to do it. And we're amateurs, so struggling not to break stuff and whatnot, but I'll show you, even though I'm in a not the best mood and I'm tired of working, I'll show you what we're doing. This floorboard down here is rotted. This is where my water heater was. It's right there now. So basically, I don't know the full plan, but this plywood down here is rotted, and that's part of my floor, so we're gonna have to replace part of it and maybe some of the framing underneath. We're trying to pull that out today so that we can replace those framing boards with these framing boards. It just crumbles to the touch, so that's our difficulty today. But we've made a lot of progress, even though it looks awful. Here's another mess that I have no clue really how to deal with. I'm not going to unplug everything. I'm basically keeping everything ran to the spot that it was ran to. So we're going to have to try and get the insulation and new paneling behind this thing without taking it out any more than a few inches that it's out. So comment if you have any good advice for us. See ya. Okay, what a day it's been. Water heater's out. Basically what I want to show you real quick is this is what we've been doing. I wanted to show you this so you could see why we took this out. So this is not a fun process of getting this adhesive to loosen up off the wall. It looks not bad, but basically when you push this out, you get that. And these, when they come apart, you have to put them back together, and you can see all the bends in mine and dents, and it's really not ideal. So be really careful when you're doing this that you've got enough structure that your walls won't push out and do that, because if you do it too many times you could damage your siding. Here's why we had to do this all in the first place. For all the people that are sure we're totally idiots for doing all this work. This, as you can see, if I just push a little bit on it, you know, the whole thing comes out. It's just dry rot, totally dry rot, and you can see that's already completely out, and that's out. I just got the rest of this foam off. Trust me, moving this water tank and all that foam was really not fun. I finally got it out. You can see I'm going to finish getting out all this wood and replacing it. It's basically 1.5 inches thick of plywood. So I'm just finishing getting it out, and then once it's out, I'm going to cut boards and replace it and then move on, because I'm not doing the whole thing all at once. That way we have some dimensions that we can still use. I'm not that great of a carpenter, so I don't want to tear it completely down to nothing and then realize I'm not smart enough to put it back together. So we're just kind of doing it section at a time. Alright. Okay, a lot's happened since the last video. We're replacing this board along the floor today, and basically going to replace that all the way up to the front of the camper. We're just doing it in sections to make sure we get everything correct. You can see here, this board, we're going to be able to save everything but this. This section was basically rotted and it was lifted up, so you couldn't really build over it, and you can see to the outside, for example. So I'm going to replace that, and you can see I cut with my circular saw almost far enough to get that piece out, and I'm actually working the rest of it with a hunting knife, which kind of sucks, but I don't have a router or any tool to do that with, so that's where we're at right now. We're going to replace that floorboard, get that floor joist in, and then replace that framing right here, because this framing is really important for the structure of the aluminum, but as you can see, it's just crumbles out. So I'm going to put another piece of framing here, and yeah, so that's where we're at right now. Alright, here's what I'm doing. That's where I cut out the old rotted plywood, and this is the new piece of board that I cut. I actually cut two because the plywood underneath was rotted out too. So as you can see, I didn't do like a perfect job or anything. I just ripped it out with my hands, replaced the plywood up next to it, sized that. I'm going to put that in, and then it'll get covered, but there's that little piece, and then once I screw this in here in a minute, I'm going to move on to sizing this next piece for that area. And the reason I want to do this and share it is because I want everyone to realize that if they're interested in moving off the grid and sort of backing up out of society a little bit, that option is really at their fingertips if they're willing to do a little bit of work. So I just want to explain how cheap it has been so far. First of all, I'm going to take you around and show you all the wood that we've salvaged. A couple pieces we bought. I actually spent $20 on this 2x10 right here. It's 16 feet long. It's Douglas fir, and I had to get that because it's going to go right here in between that as a joist along the floor. So I needed something sturdy. What was there before was just two pieces of 1/2-inch 2x4 or plywood glued together, and that rotted away. So you can see I already used part of that 2x4, that 2x10 as this replacement floor piece, and I think that turned out pretty well. So today I'm going to make the other piece out of that, and anyway, so that's $20 in the budget so far. Everything else here we've scored in a dumpster. This piece right here came out of the RV, so that doesn't count. This is a wall that we're going to put back in. But everything else in this pile, which is a lot of wood if you can see, plywood and 2x and 1x, all for free.
Alright, so here's what we just did. This top layer of wood was pried up about 1 inch or so. So we put some of this stuff, construction adhesive, in the cracks and then clamped it down. And then we added this piece of wood right here to fill the gap. There was no wood there. And then we screwed it down. We'll screw underneath these boards a few more screws, and now Andrew is cutting our new frame board that will go right in here and all the way to the first wheel right there, just right here. So that's what we're doing.